and they recruited 5,000 people to do so. And so it's a major operation. It's one of the biggest in census because we need to get the questionnaires to the right place.
Gainesville is one of those communities that's still small enough so that if your neighbors see somebody standing in front of your address, you know, they might just call the police department. But that's one of the reasons for this show today, is to let people know that they're probably from the census, and that's what they're doing.
And additionally, my department exists, Partnership and Data Services, as an outreach arm of the census. And what we do in cases like that is we take care of some of those logistical issues. For instance, we'll be calling local authorities, letting them know in press releases and just with personal phone calls to sheriffs and whatnot that, hey, we're going to have people out in the community. Don't be worried about somebody, as long as they're properly identified, which they will have a census badge and a census bag. As long as they're properly identified, they will be working and doing federally official work in the community.
Now, we're located certainly here in Gainesville, but as you go further north up into the mountains, they're going to be people who maybe they're not as urbanized as we are around here. How do you get to those little tiny houses we see way up in the mountains, and we wonder how anyone gets up there?
Well, you know what the key is to that is to empower the local community. In other words, hire from within. If we hire people who live next to Joe in the trailer down by the stream, over the river and through the woods, we're going to have more success in counting those more rural areas. If we try to send a number of people from Washington or from another regional office or even from Atlanta into Gainesville or into White County or Habersham County or Rabun County, you know, even if we're experts, we're not going to really get the response we need. It's been tried and proven that if we get local assistance, hire local people, we're going to get better data.
How do you incorporate the local community in addition to not just the people that you hire, but certainly you've already appeared before the Gainesville City Council and the Hall County Commission and talked to them, but who else will you get involved in our community?
Leaders. Leaders are key. One of the biggest things in the community, whether it be minorities or just a mainstream community, is trust. You know, a lot of issues with trust and people coming up to them, people they don't necessarily know, and asking them questions about how they live or how many people are in their house. You know, that's something that not everybody wants to readily let go of that
information. Well, it feels like an invasion. It really does.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we talk to leaders. We talk to, first of all, governmental leaders, and we also talk to spiritual leaders as far as faith-based organizations, nonprofit organizations, a number of different ways that the partnership department goes out into the community, does that outreach work so that we're not telling people that it's safe, it's easy, and it's important. We're letting the leaders of the community do that.
That they trust.
In conjunction with us, and therefore bringing down that guard and so we can get the better data that we need.
Now, you've also chosen a couple of our local leaders to co-chair a committee. We'll meet them in just a moment, but tell us about that committee.
Well, that committee, what we call the Complete Count Committee, has been a tried and proven method for several censuses now to involve local government officials in their own community. Basically what we do, and they understand the importance of census, they understand the funding and the political representation. We don't really have to, you know, convince them. They know the importance of it. But what this Complete Count Committee does is we let the highest elected officials of the area appoint a chairperson, or in this case co-chair people, to run the Complete Count Committee. And what the Complete Count Committee breaks down into is subcommittees that address specific areas of the community. For instance, there'll be a faith-based subcommittee where you can include Methodist, Baptist, Catholic, of all different nationalities, all different types of congregation. We'll have also business subcommittee, which may include several different chambers of commerce or business entities or business leaders, so that we can get a good picture of the community, and therefore the government is actually, those leaders that we need so much are actually tapping into a network where everybody gets the same message, and that is the census is important, it's easy, and it's safe.
And it really is back down to the grassroots level.
Definitely. Ultimately, everything goes in that direction. Because if the people who get that questionnaire just set it aside with the rest of their mail or don't know how important it is, then we're not going to get the data we need. So if we can get that message across through work through the Complete Count Committee and other outreach efforts, then we've done our job, and the community will benefit from it.
Well, let's go now to some comments we had earlier from the two people who have been chosen as co-chairs locally.
I'm very excited to have been chosen as a co-chair of the Complete Count Committee. It's an opportunity to work with lots of different organizations that I've been with before, as well as some new organizations. As the director of the Gainesville Hall County Community Service Center, I know all too well the importance of the United States Census count. Many of the funds that we receive, whether it be for Meals on Wheels or the Senior Life Center, are directly related to the count of our population, as are many other services in our community, such as public works, roads and bridges, public safety, police and fire. So I am extremely excited about the opportunity to get people encouraged and to participate in the census count and hopefully have a very, very high return.
As a relative newcomer to Hall County and Gainesville, I think it's extremely important to serve on something like this because it impacts all of us. The level of services that we get is in part determined by the number of people that we have to serve. And if you have an accurate census count, then you're going to get a much better opportunity to get the funding that you need to provide those services. I've learned a lot and I've met a lot of different people over the last several years that I've been in Hall County, and I'm extremely impressed with what we have to offer. And from my perspective, I want to try to make sure that I can support and work with different people involved in the community to ensure that the services are there and the funding is there. So far, we've met with a couple of times just to try to start to get things organized. It is a community-wide effort, and we have to get a wide range of people from education to the different faith-based organizations to philanthropic organizations, businesses, the government, just an ongoing list of people that we need to help participate to make people aware that if they're a resident here in Hall County or Gainesville, we want them to be counted.
How would the 2010 census differ from the 2000 census?
Well, there are some key differences for sure. There is, first off, as I mentioned earlier, we have the GPS-enabled handheld devices, which will be used primarily in the address canvassing portion of the operation. So that has added a technological advancement that really should help the process of getting the questionnaires to the right places. Also, unlike in census of 2000, we only have one questionnaire type this time, which is the short form. 10 questions, takes roughly 10 minutes, easy to complete, and that's it, you're done with the census. As opposed to in 2000, we had also a longer version of the questionnaire, and that has kind of morphed into a yearly survey, which is called the American Community Survey. And that was the dreaded 30 to 40 minute one that went to 1 in every 6 households, and we used that sampling to get a more detailed socio-demographic picture of the nation. But like I said, that's a yearly American Community Survey now, so that this decennial count is simply going to be the one short form, which we think is going to help the response rate tremendously.
What kind of questions are on that form? Very
simple questions. You're talking name, gender, whether you own or rent your home, race, ethnicity, if there are additional people in the house. We do have some administrative questions like a phone number, a place to put a phone number, and that's mostly just to follow up in case we can't understand one of the responses, or you just need a little bit clarification on some information. So it's really basic information, nothing that pries too deeply, no social security number, nothing like that. And it's all held strictly confidential.
And I noticed I was reading over the form on your website, or someplace I was doing some research and I saw the form, and there are the questions on there about, as you try to determine whether or not someone lives in this household full-time or if someone's away at school. So you're very, very specific in the questions.